Come and see.
Many know the story of wicked Korah and the prophet Alma from Sunday school. Meet Korah.
It's the coming of a Messiah who brings everlasting life. It is not reasonable that such a being should come. Why does he not show himself unto us? He will not, for he is not.
Pesky fellow, ain't he? For the uninitiated, here is the story outline. Korah, an antichrist, preaches wickedness and denies God. The prophet Alma sets him straight, teaching about God, scriptures, and the joy the gospel brings. Alma warns Korah, if he does not stop blaspheming, he will be struck dumb. Korah persists in his wicked ways, though, and is instantly smitten by God, as Alma prophesied. He then admits to lying and being deceived by the devil. I love this story. It has so many current applications because Korah makes the typical arguments atheists make today, and Alma debates him on those. And I would like to read the story in detail for everyone watching. The story is found in the Book of Mormon in Alma chapter 30. We meet Korah in verse 6, where he is described as Antichrist, for he began to preach unto the people against the prophecies which had been spoken by the prophets concerning the coming of Christ. It is immediately noted in the following verses that censorship is contrary to the commandment of God, and the law of the land punished people only for secular-like transgressions such as murder or theft. Interestingly, it notes in verse 12 about Korah that the law could have no hold upon him. This means he could not be charged with a crime. Interestingly, he is then arrested twice and dragged before a judge and later Alma the prophet for preaching blasphemy. Korah begins his speech with a statement that faith is a vain and false hope. His main issue is with the priests and prophets because he believes them to be charlatans, since no man could possibly know what they claim to know. As he puts it, for no man can know of anything which is to come. Behold, ye cannot know of things which ye do not see. He goes on to explain his theory that people only believe because they have been indoctrinated as children with the wicked traditions of their fathers, as he calls it. He thinks that an atonement for the sins of all mankind does not seem feasible, and that men prosper according to their own abilities, independent of any supernatural force. As all atheists, he does not regard God as a valid moral authority, and believes that when a man was dead, it was the end thereof. In lieu of not having a prophet available, a seemingly inexperienced high priest confronts Korah. After listening for a while, the best reply he can think of is that the gospel brings good feelings and happiness, and that Korah should respect that. When Korah keeps talking about how dogma and clergy enslave people, rituals are a foolish waste of time, original sin is deplorable, and worst of all, that God is an invention of man based on dreams, delusions, and lies, the high priest has him bound again and delivered to Alma the prophet. Here, Korah reiterates all his talking points and deplores that the priests glut themselves on the labor of the people. Alma responds well by pointing out that he, like modern LDS clergy, is an unpaid minister. Modern atheists, of course, might respond that collecting tithe in the name of a non-existent God was fraud. Alma then asks if Korah still believes the religious leaders to be deceivers, to which Korah, probably thinking about the aforementioned fraud issue, replies yes. Unsurprisingly, he then answers Alma's question if he believes in a God with a no. Alma then bears testimony, I know there is a God, and also that Christ shall come. Ironically, this is the very thing that annoys Korah in the first place, the unsubstantiated claim of knowledge he complained about in verse 13 and 14. But Alma will present his evidence in a little while. Hang on, guys. But first, he challenges Korah to prove him wrong, saying that he cannot disprove God. Alma probably does this because he is getting upset, since this is a logical fallacy, shifting the burden of proof. Still upset, he calls Korah a liar and possessed by the devil, which also does not add to the quality of the discussion. At this point, Alma probably has to take a deep breath, and Korah gets the word in again. He has the audacity to ask for evidence for Alma's claims. Alma tells him to be quiet with, "Thou hast had signs enough. Will ye tempt your God?" But then graciously proceeds to present his evidence. Alma says, "Ye have the testimony of all these thy brethren, and also all the holy prophets. The scriptures are laid before thee, yea, and all things denote there is a God. Yea, even the earth, and all things that are upon the face of it, yea, and its motion, yea, and also all the planets, which move in their regular form, do witness that there is a supreme Creator." So he lists 4 pieces of evidence to consider. Firstly, the testimony of other believers. Secondly, the testimony of prophets. Thirdly, the scriptures. And fourthly, what we call creationism or intelligent design today. Let's examine each of those from the atheist perspective for just a moment. Other believers? Which ones, the atheist would ask. Humans are very inept at agreeing on the nature and will of God, and many people testify of different things. Prophets? Again, which ones? There have been many over the centuries, would the atheists say. Scriptures are merely a collection of the 2 other testimonies in written form. Anybody can write a book. That does not make it true. Now for the big one that is debated heavily today. We do live in a beautiful, wondrous, and complex world, to be sure, but atheists are not impressed by claims that this proves the existence of God, since many of the wonders can be explained by natural processes. Cosmological inflation explains the formation of our universe. Abiogenesis explains the formation of primitive life from inorganic matter, and the theory of evolution describes the development of complex life forms. If you would like to learn more about these things, there are appropriate links in the video description. Atheists might further respond to Alma's claim that all things denote there is a God, that there are a couple of god-awful things in the world that are not really the result of man's agency. Terrible diseases such as leprosy or HIV, natural disasters such as earthquakes, and genetic defects such as Down syndrome. Korhor is probably thinking similar thoughts and is not impressed, thus repeating his request for hard evidence. Alma sees that the discussion won't go anywhere from there on out, and promises Korhor a sign if he blasphemes again. He will be struck dumb, unable to blaspheme further. Quite a practical sign. At this point, Korhor clarifies, as many atheists would today, that he does not claim that he knows for sure that there is no God at all, just that he has not been presented with any evidence by Alma or other religious leaders that would make him believe that they know that there actually is a God. At which point Alma does as he promised. He invokes the name of God and curses Korhor. The results are immediate. Korhor recognizes the miracle as valid evidence and accepts Alma's claim of the existence of God. He continues on to bewail that it was not his fault, for the devil deceived him. Alma refuses to lift the curse, and the news of what happened to Korhor spreads like wildfire, bringing those that had listened to him to repentance. It's a great story, but unfortunately that's all it is. God only works miracles like those in the scriptures, never in real life. No minister or prophet will ever curse Richard Dawkins or any other prominent atheist with the same result on national TV, because sadly, God like you imagine him does not exist. Or does he? If so, what evidence do you have?